Welcome to Smalltalk Daily for Friday, October 16th, 2009. This morning I'd like to give a brief overview of store usage, and this is not going to cover from start of creating a repository to finish. It's going to cover the basics of having a package, making sure prerequisites are right, publishing it, and then being able to load it. So let's take a look at that with a base image here, and the first thing you want to do is go to the Parcel Manager. Once that's up, what you do is you come in here to version control, and you're going to load the version control for the appropriate database. In my case, I'm going to be using Postgres, so I'm going to load that. You might be using Store for Oracle or for Microsoft Access or for some other database. There are a whole bunch of them here. So you're going to load the one that's appropriate for your usage. It'll bring in a bunch of prerequisites and chew along while it's loading stuff. Now, once that's finished, you can get this out of the way. Now, it turns out that I've already brought in a package, and this is something I wrote a couple years ago when I did a version of this screencast for an older version of VisualWorks. There's a package here called DB Project, and I have this query executor, and it's going to connect, in our case, to an Oracle database. So it's going to talk to an Oracle database. It is going to initialize itself that way. See Oracle connection here. So there are some prerequisites on this guy. He needs to have Oracle connectivity before he can be published, before he can be loaded. So we want to make sure all that's set. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to deselect this class here, and I'm going to come down here to prerequisites over on this tab, and you notice that it's going to tell me right off Oracle EXDI, but it's missing database. Now, I don't really need to worry about loading this because it turns out Oracle EXDI itself is going to be dependent on this, so I don't need to explicitly list this up here even though this is telling me that. So that's going to be taken care of for me. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to have to set up my repository access. Notice that I've just loaded the repository stuff. I don't have anything to connect to. It's going to say connect to there. Now I have stuff I can fill in here as far as what I can connect to the database in question, but I can also just import those in. If I right click, there's import repositories. It turns out I've got an XML file that I've already stored called repositories.xml. Now it's going to bring up a file name dialog here, and I'm going to scroll down until I get to the R's, and there's my XML file. If you have not done this before, if you haven't saved this, you're not going to have this ability. I'll show you what those look like. What I'll do is I'll right click here, and I can open the repository manager, and I can add new things here, and these are all the settings. So I have some things here for various databases that I can talk to, and you can set up your own by right clicking and having a new one down here. You can open the repository manager. So I've already got all that in. Let's just go ahead and left click and connect to the local repository, which is a Postgres database on this machine. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on my project over here, and I'm going to hit publish. And it's going to prompt me, because it's never seen this package before, it's going to say, well, it's going to be version 1.0. I can change that. I can come down here and say initial publish. And I could go over here to parcel options. This is something where I can specify that I want this to be published as a parcel in addition to publishing from the database. I can leave that be, I can let it go, but I'm just going to leave everything with defaults, and I'm going to hit publish. What you're going to see is this little progress notifier up here telling you it's busy. It flashed away because it's a pretty small package. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to quit this image without saving it. And what I'm going to do is bring up a new image. And this one's going to be one that already has all the Postgres connectivity loaded into it. So I'm going to left click here. I'm going to connect to local. I'm going to right click and browse published items. And now I'm going to bring that into the view. I'm going to start typing DB. It'll find it. I can select it. I can select this here. I can right click. I can browse it, I can load it, and when I load it, you'll notice that this comes up and notifies me that it's busy, and if I come over here, you'll notice that it's starting to bring in the prerequisites. So all the prerequisites I specified are being brought in, and the project loaded. If I come down to the browser, you'll now see that it's back in my system, and everything looks okay. Notice the color is a little different here because I have loaded this from the repository as opposed to the gray when it wasn't in the repository I was connected to. The little thing there is because I don't have a comment on this package. So that's about it for today. Until next time, have fun with Smalltalk.